Good afternoon. Again, I'm Sheriff Ezell Brown of the Newton County Sheriff's Office, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining me, not only at this time, but joining me on yesterday as I talked with Timothy Burt. We had a wonderful discussion, and following the discussion, my opponent went live on Facebook to bash me, criticize me, and also criticize the office of sheriff. I want you to know this is my 5th campaign for sheriff of Newton County. One of the things for me, and it's been consistent throughout each and every campaign that I have engaged in, we have always promised that we would not engage in negative campaigning. As sheriff, I can assure you, the public, that I still intend to continue the practice to discuss factual information. And this is why I am coming before you today, just to talk with you briefly, not to go over everything my opponent said on yesterday, but just a few notes. One of the things I'd like to clarify is that I will not, under no circumstance, hide information, fabricate information, or mislead the public or anyone for the office of sheriff. The office of sheriff is dear to me, and I would not embarrass, nor will I neglect the fundamental duties that I have been elected to do here in Newton County. Nor will I embarrass the other 158 sheriffs of this great state of Georgia. My opponent alluded to the fact that our crime reporting system was perhaps intentionally turned off because this is an election year. Never once I would mislead, hide information, again, fabricate information to retain the office of sheriff. I have more respect for the office of sheriff than to mislead the public, mislead an individual, and foremost, cause shame within my family and many, many different ones who love me throughout this country. I would not do that. There was a conversation about our public information officer. Yes, we have a public information officer, and I believe he alluded to say that he was a public information officer for the city of Covington. My public information officer followed the guidelines in which we have set forth, and that is respecting the privacy of each and every individual that we come in contact with, good or bad. That's what we do. No, we do not call the media on every real live situation because it's not needed. We're not a Facebook operation organization. We get accurate information out in an appropriate time. I believe he also mentioned something about the most recent accident here on Fairview Road. And I'll just talk briefly on that. Unfortunate situation for all parties involved, including myself, including the officers, including the families of these individuals. We took appropriate steps. Within 5 hours, we had information out, but it was limited information, and that's what we do. Hours later, we carried out other duties and responsibilities by making sure that other information was deployed. Again, we are not going to politicize any misfortune for anyone. On last date, we talked about vacancies, and Timothy was asking the questions, and I was doing the best in responding to those questions, and I'm sure that I made the statement, and it was a three-part question, and I think it was, and I'm not sure in terms of the exact wording, but it was some of the challenges that we were facing during COVID-19. And it was a three-part question. And I think the first part, I talked about the jail safety of the inmates, the safety of the officers, and also I talked briefly about the officers on the patrol and how they have to protect themselves and how they could not, and even the officers in the jail could not quarantine when everyone else was in quarantine. That's what I talked about. But I also talked about addressing the vacant positions. And this is what I said. I said, had it been 3 to 4 or 5 years ago, perhaps I would have said it would be 30 positions or more. But I came back and I said that back during that time, the starting pay was just about $14 an hour. And I believe I said senior deputies their pay was about $16 an hour. And I think I went on to say, but thanks today, that the starting pay is $19 an hour. That's a non-certified individual. And that certified individuals make close to $20 an hour. And I believe I said that we had 13 positions. Now, those 13 positions are broken down by, we have 6 positions that are county positions, and we have 7 positions that are grant positions, in which we have been fortunate enough that we have been able to obtain $1 million grants since 2010. As a matter of fact, we were one of the few sheriff's office, or office of sheriffs, to receive that prestigious award during that time. As a matter of fact, it was noted that the Congress called the local media to inform them that the Newton County Sheriff's Office had received $1 million plus grant. As I recall, back in June, there was an open records request. And the open records request wanted to know how many vacancies that we had at that time. Well, apparently, the information was disappointing to the person who retrieved the information, because we had 0 positions at the time. But again now, we have 13 positions. And again, we're filling those positions each and every day as qualified individuals come forth. Now, do we just hire anyone? No. There's a rigorous process that we have in place here. to make sure that we get the best, because Newton County deserves the best, and that's what we have. And we're not going to neglect our duties in doing just that. We have a actively campaign in recruiting. We go to various workshops and we recruit. We go to colleges. We go to job fairs. So we are stable at this point in time when it comes to retention. I think we're no different from any other organization. Law enforcement, it's hard to get employees or individuals just to come forward and take the job now. It's difficult. Not only just for Newton County, not just for Covington PD, because they are short. Conyers is short. All agencies are short now. But we are more than 300 employees here. And when you look at that, we are more than 300 employees and we're only 6 down by county funded positions, I don't think that's bad. I do not think that's bad. I think that's above average when you have over 300 employees and you have only 6 positions that are vacant. And again, those 7 positions are grant awards that we will hire 7 individuals to work here as deputy sheriffs. There was also a comment made about reallocating positions in departments. Each and every one of our divisions carry out the mandates of the Office of Sheriff. You must have a warrant division to serve warrants. You must have a civil division to serve the eviction in the civil process. That's a mandate. You must have a transport division to transport inmates, regardless of whether it's local, regardless of whether it's out of state, whether it's to a hospital or not. Those are our responsibilities. There was also something said about overtime. Just 2 years ago, and I want to say this is what propelled the Board of Commissioners to act on raising the pay when we started to talk about overtime. But even though I presented a study throughout the state of Georgia about overtime, Newton County, yes, we had $1 million in overtime. Rockdale County had excessive overtime. DeKalb County had more than $4 million of overtime, if I'm not mistaken. Chatham County had about $6 million of overtime. You have to understand the functionality of the Office of Sheriff. When we transport an inmate to the hospital and they're hospitalized, it's our responsibility to stay at the hospital 24 hours a day. And this is done by 2 officers. Must be there at the bedside. Whether it's 1 day, 1 month, or 3 months, that must happen. You cannot chain a person or handcuff a person to the bed and walk away. That is a reoccurring event all the time. With transports, we have pickups in Florida or wherever the case may be. You have 2 officers to go. that may require overtime. And as I explained to Timothy on yesterday, we have things that happen that we have no control over. I mentioned to him about the 2 events that he sponsored. That was overtime. We work every Board of Commissioners meeting. Every time someone is there at the old historic courthouse. That's overtime. Because that's our responsibilities. And I think if you would drill down a little bit deeper, in a sense, overtime. When you look at the fact that you do not have to pay benefits for overtime pay, that may be a plus if you look at it. I know it's also something was mentioned about the number of hours that are worked. And it's only a few individuals work those hours. I can say those hours are shared hours. We cannot force anyone to work. Our guys work 12 hours shifts. I work 12-hour shifts. I've worked 16-hour shifts. And the physical makeup of are different. So I would assume that the ones that can have the stamina to work the 16 hours, those are the ones who are working the 16 hours. The ones who choose to work the 12 hours, they're the ones that work the 12 hours. But there's a lot more that goes into overtime. And you're going to have overtime. And I wish that someone else would do an independent study. Even a small town like Crawford County, they have overtime. All of us have overtime because there's no set pattern. There's no set way of doing things at the office of sheriff. We may get a call or a request from another county in the state to respond, to assist them, in which that happens all the time. To assist them in riot control, assist them in many other ways, manhunts. So you're going to have overtime. It's no way to get around the overtime. And I think once you drill down and look into the fabric, the core fabric of the office of sheriff, then you would understand the overtime. With that said, but we have still maintained budget each and every year. And I think I gave some historical points on yesterday to Timothy. Historical is that in 2010, that was the downturn of the economy. The board cut the budget. We lost 20 plus, I believe it was 22 or 25 employees in the stroke of a pen. But we had to do it, and we did it. We lost $3.2 million at the same time. Also, we just had completed a staffing analysis by an outside organization. And at that very same time, again, we was 28 officers short when we let go of those 22 or 25 officers at that time. And as I said on last night, that my math may not be good, but I think that's over 50 officers that we were down in 2010. So how do you recoup 50 officers from 2000 in 10 years at the rate that we have been given positions? I know there has been something said about response time. If you put an officer or two officers in every zone here, because we have such wide territory, Covington is only 12 point something square miles. Newton County is 271 plus square miles. We have neighborhoods within our county as large as the city of Covington. We have two neighborhoods joining one another that will have more homes than the city of Covington. Yes, 12 square miles. And if they have 12 officers on a given shift, that's almost one officer per square mile. For the sheriff's office, we have adequate force on the street, but we prioritize our calls. But it would be highly impossible to put 271 officers in square miles, and I would not even ask for that here in the county. There was also something mentioned about a call. And these are things that was called in and was stated to me, that the city of Covington responded to more than 400 calls within the county. I don't think that's true. And the one where a house was being fired upon and a 12-year-old was given a shotgun to guard the door, I know nothing of that. Don't even know whether it exists or not. But I do know the facts that I've given you. They are real. They're factual. That's what they are. We talked about, again, I think we've talked about the crime reporting. But I just want to talk about the stats, and I'm going to refer to my notes here, as I did on yesterday, when I was going to give the various list of programs that we had to offer to all of our citizens here. Our crime, and again, one incident is one too many. But as I said on yesterday, we do not live in a perfect world. We do not live within a perfect county. But I can tell you this, that when I took office, crime was much higher. Why? Because the dynamics was changing. We had many residents that was moving in, and we were being overpopulated at the time. We were having 15 homicides a year. We had an excessive amount of robberies. But we have reduced, and this is factual information, 2019, we had a total of 6 homicides, 100% solved. In 2020, we've had a total of 3, all of them solved. Our homicides are down by 50%. Aggravated assault, 2019, again, I say 1 is too many. But in 2019, we had 107. 2020, we've had 95. We're down by 11.21%. robberies. 2019, we had a total of 36. 2020, as of today, we've had a total of 20. It's down by 44%. When I say robberies, this could be a snatch and grab by some individual walk-in, a cell phone is taken. These are not robberies where, all of them are robberies where a gun was actually involved. Stolen autos. Stolen autos for the year of 2019, total was 19. 2020, a total of 9, down by 52.63%. Entering autos in 2019, we had a total of 299. 2020, we have 178 total, and that's down by 40.47%. I did not, in most of these cases, many of these cases were solved. We have a safe community. We do not have a lawless community. We have a very professional organization, and I will never, ever embarrass this organization. I will never turn this organization nor the office of sheriff into a media outlet, nor will I allow myself to be dragged into a critical debate during a political process. If anyone wants to debate policy, anyone wants to debate the scopeability of how we are carrying out our function, I welcome that. But I will not put the office of sheriff in the limelight as if it's some real life story that is playing out for everyone to see. What you will see from this point on from me is a hard-working, honest sheriff, as I've been for the last 11 years, 8 months. That's what you will see. And I will not get engaged in a he said, she said, or tick for tat, as my parents would say, type of conversation. I will rise above the level of that. Now, with that said, I encourage all of you, particularly the young and old, if you're not registered, please register to vote. You have to be 18 years of age by voting day. Many of your ancestors, as well as mine and others, every ethnicity fought for you to exercise that one right, and that is to vote. And always believe that your vote will count. I know there are many who say, well, my vote is not going to count. And also there may be some that will say, I know they're not going to do anything for me. But I ask you this, have you asked me to do anything for you? I urge you to exercise that one right. Register to vote. Again, when you're managing an organization that is complex as the office of sheriff, and particularly one this size, a multi-faceted, I do not feel embarrassed to have to look down at my notes to make sure that I'm giving accurate and correct information. So that's what I was doing on yesterday. And that's exactly what I'm doing today, giving you factual information. Again, I want to thank you so much. And as I said on yesterday, I've never shied away from a conversation, as someone had said earlier. Give me a microphone. I feel right at home. Thank you for watching. And remember, if you ever need me, I'm only a phone call away. I have an open door policy. Go to my website, www.ezellbrown4share. Get to know me if you've never gone on that site. And if you want to meet me personally, email that site. Facebook, go on Facebook. Or even come to the office and meet me here at the office. I would love to show you around here. We have a great place here. We're expanding out front, and I would love to show you how your dollars work. I'm a good steward, and I can prove that to you. Let us not get caught up in the propaganda. We're going to stay focused. And this may be the last time that I will address any comments, and especially those negative comments that is made by my opponent or made by anyone. I rise above all of it. And as I said on yesterday, you may copy my material. You may steal some of my thoughts. But one of the things no one can ever do is steal the passion that I have for this community. As I say always, I love this community from the bottom of my heart. And my heart has no bottom for you. God bless you. Thank you.